Electronic arts is known as a cold and corporate machine. But what if I told you that isn't entirely true? As a former employee, I've met some incredible people who opened my eyes to things I didn't even realize I was carrying. Here's the story of how EA changed me for the better. Growing up, I was told that immigrants are bad, that people of color are criminals, that I'd get a knife between the ribs if I went out at night, that the economy was going to shit thanks to all these foreigners. I got painted a picture of a society where it was us versus them. It was a power move to call people of other ethnicities names or using slurs against other cultures. It gave you strength and a degree of control over them. It made you feel strong. Of course, it wasn't wrong. After all, the fault wasn't ours, it was theirs. Surely, external factors and other people are to blame. There's nothing we could do about it, right? But just out of interest, if one were to attempt to escape this bubbling sewer festering with pulsating pustules, how would one go about that? Well, here's how I did it. The year's 2016. I'm trying my hand at this whole streaming thing, and I decide to take it pretty seriously. You have done a great job, say hello. I say the same thing that my sister said. I say this Repul's effect. I meet some absolutely wonderful people, many of whom I still call close friends to this day. One of these wonderful people, a streamer by the name of Tainted Tally, happens to work for Electronic Arts. The it's in the game, folks. About halfway into the year, I get let go of my job, and I start looking for a new one. As it turns out, EA was looking for Dutch speakers to join their customer support team. On a whim, I applied for the job, just because it seemed unlikely anyway. I mean, why would a company like EA want to hire someone with the skill set of a web developer as a customer support agent? Surely I don't qualify, right? Well, 2 months later, I found myself standing in the airport of Dublin, Ireland with 2 backpacks and 2 gigantic suitcases, waiting for the bus to Galway, where I would begin training a week later. It was honestly surreal. Now, if you've spent any time applying for jobs, you'll have heard the trope of "we're all family here," and you'll probably know that this is either really toxic or just straight up not true at all. The recruiter for EA had made the same claims to me during my application process, and at this point I had enough experience with jobs that I knew to disregard it. But as I concluded my 5th day of training, I realized this was going to be different. Very different. I was working in a building that was filled with people from all over the world. A building filled with many different cultures, races, genders, values, and norms. Looking at it from the outside, you'd fully expect all of these people to clash, given they were polar opposites. From Russians and Brazilians to Italians and Swedes to the French and the British, and everything in between. Cultures that often have vastly different ways of thinking, acting, and perceiving the world. That was sure to be a recipe for disaster. That's what I thought. Until one of my trainers pointed out that pretty much everyone in this building had gone through the exact same process I had just gone through. They too had given up everything. They had left their family and friends, gotten rid of their belongings, and sacrificed whatever else they had to, if not everything. All of that to move to an entirely different country for a better future. Not unlike those immigrants from back home. Every single one of these people, myself now included, was an immigrant. We were the foreigners. We were the outsiders. And that is precisely what created this immediate and innate bond between everyone there, despite all the differences. And sure, for the most part, people would stick together with the people who spoke their native language, but there was always this understanding, this shared lived experience between everyone there. I would have never expected all of these different people from different countries speaking different languages with different cultures, different beliefs, different neurotypes, different gender identities, different sexualities, different opinions, different values, and different morals to mesh at all, let alone this well. As I got used to the work, and as I got settled in, I became more open, more extroverted, and I started making friends with people from all over the place. All of whom very different individuals, but each and every single one of them absolutely fantastic people. From a Latvian guy I had in-jokes with, to the incredibly loud Spanish guy who sat next to me, to the grumpy Danish guy on my team who ended up giving me the best compliment I have ever received. From the passionate Brazilian girl from the Star Wars The Old Republic team to the Norwegian friend who got me into the job in the first place. And that's still leaving out a lot of incredibly cool, friendly, and amazing people. This job changed me. It changed me in a way I didn't even fully understood until I moved back to the Netherlands. Due to financial circumstances, I found myself back home almost exactly a year after I had left it. I still vividly remember the feeling of disbelief I felt mere hours after I got back. I was suddenly surrounded by people who were spewing out the most vile and toxic racism, and were doing so with a scary amount of casualness. I had just spent a year living as a foreigner in a melting pot of people and cultures. I had seen with my own eyes that wildly different people weren't only able to coexist, they were able to work together, become friends, family even. And yet, here I was, surrounded by the people of my own flesh and blood who were dropping slurs and blaming the foreigners as if they were talking about the weather. These comments were incredibly jarring, yet they also felt familiar in a way. It only took me a few moments to realize that this was the environment I had grown up in, that this environment had infected me. Not affected, infected. At the same time, I also came to the realization that my time at EA had been the antidote to that infection, an incredibly potent one at that. I had changed a lot. I no longer believed the words that were being spoken. I no longer believed the picture that was being painted for me. I had not just seen the other side, I had experienced it. Now, me being who I am, of course I couldn't stay silent, and of course I started pushing back, only to be met with an avalanche of racism, bigotry, and resistance. I realized this was never a fight I was capable of taking, at least not head on. I started pondering about the source of this toxicity, and it didn't take me long to work out that the source was simply fear. Fear of shady-looking groups hanging around in dark alleyways. Fear of people openly dealing and taking drugs. Fear of being stabbed for no good reason. But it wasn't just that. There was also the fear of people being different to you. It was the fear of having to change. The fear of understanding people. Their position in the world, their story, their thoughts, hopes, fears, and dreams. A fear of connection. Now, I'd love to tell you that I pulled some movie shit where I connected the two opposing parties and we were all one big happy family in the end. But I can't. In reality, my mental health started tanking. I got into some bad financial and romantic situations, and I ended up in a severe depression and burnout. I was never in a place where I could fix that toxicity. Instead, I was drowning in it. However, this would eventually be the catalyst for me to go into therapy, for getting diagnosed, and for cutting ties with all of the toxicity and the people that perpetuated it. Looking back, I do understand where all the negativity came from. Of course, that doesn't excuse the behavior, and it most definitely does not justify it. I feel ashamed that I participated in all this toxicity and racism. I feel ashamed of the role that I played in perpetuating and growing these divides between people. At the same time, I'm also incredibly grateful to have had the opportunity to change my life, to change my path from a toxic and self-destructive one into an accepting, loving, and caring one. Applying for that job at EA on a whim might have been the best thing I ever did for myself, and honestly, for the people around me. One less person in the world carrying around that toxicity is a win in my book. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. All of us have feelings, thoughts, experiences, fears, hopes, and dreams, regardless of who you are, where you're from, or the color of your skin. I now know that no matter where I go, I will always be able to find humanity in some way, shape, or form if I look for it. Even in the biggest corporate inhuman machines. It was at EA that I really deeply learned to understand that racism has no place in our world. Races, genders, sexes, or any other demographics are not bad or evil or leeches or whatever other narrative these people like to spew out these days. Individuals are. And those individuals come in all shapes, sizes, colors, and types. So, do I recommend working at EA? From my own personal experience, without a shadow of a doubt. I had an incredible time working for them, with the most amazing people, pretty decent pay, and free cake every month, which was a nice bonus. Let me know down in the comments below if you want me to do a video delving deeper into my time at EA, the perks we had, my day-to-day, etc. But anyway, that brings us to the end of the video, folks. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time here with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, maybe learned a thing or two even. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you give that subscribe button a tap and ding that bell to get notified of new uploads. I do also live stream 3 times a week if you'd rather talk to me directly. You can find me right here on YouTube or over on the Twitch that is linked in the description down below. If you want to see when I'll be live next, make sure to join the Discord where I post a schedule every month. Thank you again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful and kind rest of your time zone. Have a good one. Bye-bye.